Hey, it's JP here on the Mixed Morning Grind. Joining me from Expedia Travel Cruises in Sherwood Park, it's Janice Tice. Janice, how are you?
I'm doing very well. Thank you, Justin. How are you?
I'm doing all right. It has been a
Good.
long road for you when it comes to the travel business, but
hmm
looking to kind of turn around. I know I see it in my life, more and more people booking trips.
Yeah, that we are. And it's actually interesting because already in the summer of last year, we had people starting to book. And then October 31st, when they had lifted or lowered the advisory, it was like it gave people permission to travel. And
Yeah.
then December 15th hit again. And it was kind of like, oh, okay, things are changing again. So that kind of stopped a bit, but it was like a floodgate had opened. I even traveled.
Where did you go?
I actually went to the Mayan Riviera and I stayed at the Grand Serenas with my parents in their 80s and my brother and his kids. And we had a fabulous time. And probably because it's not just about traveling right now, it's about that mental break of getting
Yeah.
that time away. And I think that's very important.
So let's talk about that, I guess, right off the hop before we get into anything else. Is that kind of the process that you go through when you're traveling? Because a lot of people have questions about that. Let's just say, for example, going to Mexico, because I know that's a very popular destination. What was the whole process like from the get-go for you? Was it booking special kinds of insurance? Was it, having things ready before you go when you come back? Walk us through it.
So for my own experience, just because I had that opportunity to do it, with going to Mexico, the good thing was you didn't need to have a test to enter the country. When I traveled, there was a questionnaire that we had to complete within 12 hours, the attestation that they wanted. So we had to just go through kind of like you did here with, have you been within contact with someone? Are you feeling sick? Everything we did was on the app. We flew with Sunwing and everything on the app. So reminders and such. And then when we landed, it was very quick and easy in some ways. They still had the red light, green light for customs. So that was interesting. Then on the return, that's where it gets a little bit more confusing in some ways, because sometimes the way things are done at the resort are different and each resort handles things differently. But our PCR testing was done. We met with our rep the day after we arrived. They told us when we should book our appointment, that kind of process. We had to go to the medical facility there, had our testing done. We had a little changes of how they were doing it. So it created a little bit of a mess per se. So I think even now with the advisory eventually going to drop, people have to go with the mindset that you can still travel, but there may be some hiccups and you need to be able to move forward with it and be able to adjust and realize we've never experienced this. In the
Yeah.
2 years, it's just been crazy. So it was good. And then when we came back, it was easy. My husband got tested, randomly checked. So overall, taking into account, we had to do some extra testing and some extra paperwork. It was the best time to get away. Like I loved it. And the plane was full,
Yeah.
all masked. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, awesome. And I guess that it leads us into the fact that there was a change that's coming up, or there is a change coming up at the end of the month when it comes to that PCR testing.
Yeah, so the government of Canada is changing February 28th for vaccinated travels that they won't require a PCR test. They're still going to require a rapid antigen test within 24 hours of arrival. This still has to be done by a medical profession, so whether they have to go to the drugstore or book the appointments. So it's not like you can just take the random kit that we get at home and do it yourself. It still
Yeah.
it still has to be done the right way.
Yeah.
But that's going to save people. Like when we went, it was 89 US per person.
Right.
We've seen it where it was 150 US for a PCR or 200 or 250, 300. You
Yeah.
convert that, a family of four,
Oh,
that was added cost that people just went, what? So
yeah.
this antigen test can range, you can get them at the airports too. They could be $40 US.
Yeah.
So a family of four now costs what it costs for one person to do a PCR. So
So,
that's great.
yeah. So a lot more palatable for folks for sure.
Yeah. So, and then also too, insurance will change a bit because right now with the advisory, majority of travel insurance, whether it's through a credit card or other companies, even our own plans wouldn't cover you for COVID if you contracted COVID while traveling or anything. So we had to sell additional COVID insurance. So now with the drop, people can go back to their insurance company and still verify because some companies may not adjust accordingly. So I always tell people, what do you have? What do you have that's going to cover you? Is it going to cover your extended family on your credit card? A lot of people don't realize that. It's not just travel insurance. It's who's going to cover and why.
Right. So do you find a lot of the most credit cards do have that? Because some people, I guess it depends on your credit card that you have, but it seems like a lot of credit cards these days do have it, or through work or whatever.
So with those benefits, you can have coverage, but it wasn't covering COVID. COVID was classified as a known event and a pre-existing known event. So it was like,
Yeah.
no, we're not covering you. We had clients call their credit card to see what they had coverage for during the current advisory. And we're basically don't travel. You're not covered.
Right.
And they were like, wow. So now tables are going to turn come the 28th. People need to go back and read their policy, understand their policy, because there's a lot of things that credit cards will not cover you for. Same with some company benefits with pre-existing. So it's important to understand your travel insurance no matter where you get it from.
But there is that additional insurance that is out there. It is available.
Yeah, the COVID-19 pandemic plan you can purchase, which will cover you for COVID and cover you for quarantine, which a lot of plans would cover you for COVID, but not the quarantine.
Yeah.
And also cover you for other medical things. And it's actually very cost effective. So people could still go ahead and purchase that the day before travel.
So that's kind of a thing that a lot of people, I know, they don't think about it right when they book. Some people do, I suppose. The importance of insurance right now, it's paramount, right?
It is. It's very important because the world is changing and you never know right now what the advisory could drop, but who knows what could happen in 3 months or in the fall. We have people booking out into 2024.
Wow.
So we got to be prepared and get the proper insurance and make sure they understand the terms and conditions of the supplier and the cruise lines. So that makes a huge difference.
So what I've been hearing from you, Janice, and what I've been hearing from folks who've gone as well, is that, there is lots of opportunities to go and enjoy these places and to be out in the sun and have your toes in the sand again. It just takes a little bit of extra diligence and a little bit of extra reading and checking things out.
That's exactly it. And that's why it's important to use a travel consultant, whether with our office at Expedia Cruises here in Sherwood Park or any, we understand it. It changes every day.
Right.
So to speak with someone who understands it and book with confidence, knowing that we'll understand the terms and conditions, it's important for people to move forward, having that support and us staying on the phone for hours and hours rather than them.
Well, and I always think about it as kind of like a mechanic. Like, could I fix my vehicle? Maybe. I guess I could, but then why not bring it to a professional who does this day in and day out, gets done quicker, gets done better, right?
That's exactly it. And it comes down to people assume booking directly on their own and being on their own when they book it will get them the better price, but that's not necessarily true. With travel consultants, we can find you the best deal for the best value. So that's important. Definitely.
Well, Janice, let's talk about something a little bit more fun, a little bit more exciting. You've got lots of folks that I know book with you and book all sorts of different places. What are maybe some hot destinations that are going on right now that people have really been taking advantage of now that things are kind of opening up just a little bit more?
Well, Mexico's still on the radar because it's been so easy to get into. Some countries still require it, but we're getting actually a lot of cruise travel again, where people are booking trips and also just to go to Europe. Europe's becoming a hot commodity again. And the thing is, travel was pretty much on pause for 2 years. People canceled the trips, they moved and they rebooked, they moved them. So when people are ready to start traveling, there's going to be limited space and prices are going to start to go up because of the demand.
Definitely. And I think we've even seen that a little bit. I could be wrong, but I've definitely been keeping my eye out. The prices, even since the announcement or the hint of the announcement from last week, have just crept up a little bit. So it is planning ahead really does pay off.
No, it definitely does. And we will look at pricing and if it adjusts and that kind of stuff. So it's important. It's not just about if the price is good to you. It's like, are you getting the category you want at the resort, the tour you want, the dates you want, especially if you're not very flexible with your holidays. It's important to look and start booking now.
Yeah. And I think too, like you mentioned, every country is kind of different, but it seems to me that there's quite a few countries that are really wanting that tourism to come back. They're inviting it.
Yeah, they are. And it's important for people to we still need to look at their entry requirements because they may make it a little bit easier, but they want tourism to come back, especially the Caribbean islands, Mexico. They survive on tourism. That's what they need.
Now, I know that you're an expert when it comes to cruises. What are some of the benefits of cruises, maybe for people who haven't tried one before? Because it's one of those things that, it seems like a good number of people who try them end up loving them and go time and time again. What is it about a cruise that just makes it so special?
I think it becomes down to unpacking once. You're
Yeah.
having your stateroom, whether it's an interior, ocean view, or balcony. I love my balconies. And then it's the amount of restaurants on board. The entertainment is top notch. You're getting everything from BB King's on Holland America Line. Princess has movies under the stars. There's comedy acts. So you're never bored. So you can either do nothing at all or just be busy nonstop with nightclubs and bars and dining and everything. Plus you have that time to relax in the spas, go sit on your balcony, lay by the pool. And then the next morning you're waking up at a brand new port. So it's a way to sample the world and get into destinations that maybe you can't afford to go to on your own. And then maybe go, you know what, I've been there, done that. I don't need to go back. Or I really loved this country, this island. I need to come back and spend more time. So it's a way to really knock a lot off the bucket list.
Absolutely. And I know the last time we talked, that's one thing that we touched on was the fact that you get a little bit of taste. It's like a buffet. You're getting a little bit of everything. And if there's something that you really like, you can go back and get more of it, right?
That's exactly. And also too, I think too, you're meeting people from around the world with your dining and stuff like that. And I had first time cruisers go over the New Year's doing the Mexican Riv. And I'm like, what'd you think? She goes, yeah, where are we going next? And it was their very first cruise. They said, the food, you gain weight. Like, you warned me about the alcohol and the drink. And sure enough, she goes, I gained weight on this trip because everything was just top notch.
Awesome. Well, I'll tell you, Janice, that has given us some really great insight into travel here going forward into the rest of winter and into springtime here in 2022. Is there anything else that maybe has been a frequently asked question of you that maybe I haven't hit on? Because, lots of folks are wondering about the ins and outs.
I think it's more about safety, what's required. I think it's more of the unknown of what to expect when I get to wherever I'm going. With cruising, people are concerned about certain things, but cruising was one of the safest places to travel right now. Than anywhere, because the controls are in such in place. I think it's just sitting down with your consultant, finding out, getting to the root of what your experience wants to be, and then they will plan it for you to get to your vision of where you want to be.
So if you're listening to us right now and you're dreaming of nice warm places or even somewhere far, far away, now would be the time to call Janice and ask about this. Janice, how can we get a hold of you?
So they can call our office here at Expedia Cruises in Sherwood Park at 780-417-8888. So we're here. We've been here every day. We didn't shut down during this time. So we're here and ready.
Use an expert, Janice Tice from Expedia Cruises, Sherwood Park.